talk about the miniseries Des, I am going to have to mention Dennis Nilsen and the murders that he carried out. I'm not going to go into detail. This hasn't suddenly become a true crime podcast or anything like that, but it's very sensitive material, obviously. And I always say, for any video of this type, the same thing. Your well-being is more important than my view count. If this is something that will be upsetting to you, or if you think it will be upsetting to you even, like, don't watch. I am much happier than you not watching and being safe mentally and everything like that. But if you do wish to sort of come on this journey, let us begin. So Des, like I say, is a 3-part miniseries about Dennis Nilsen, and particularly the moment of his arrest, his dealings with the police, and his clear desire for notoriety. Around 5 years before my birth, which kind of makes me a bit unsettled, even though I was entirely safe because he was incarcerated like 2 months before, or at least picked up 2 months before. But yeah, for that 5-year period from 78 to 83, he killed, that we know of, 12 people. On his arrest, he claimed 15 or 16, but he did say it was only 12 at some point. And, you know, you have to close these at some point, unless some major evidence comes forward. So it is 12 that we can definitely say. But those are 12 lives that never continued past a certain point. Those are 12 families who lost someone. Those are 12 young men who were preyed upon by someone who, when you look at his childhood, it's hard to pinpoint where this may have come from. It makes me think of when I was starting university, I was torn between counselling or sort of forensic criminological psychology, but I wanted to directly help. My mindset was I want someone to come into a room and go, I'm struggling with this, let's work through it. The criminological side is more about profiling, more about understanding why people do things. It's long-term interventions, it's not directly helping people. And whilst that is very valid, and I'm glad there are people who have done that course and are wanting to do that kind of thing, it's not what would have given me the right level of fulfillment. And I think as I watch things like this, probably would have been quite soul-destroying over time. To look into these people, to try and figure out, even if I'm called in, you know, as an expert down the line to give evidence of why someone might have done something, I would have to be there and know about all these crimes and may have to look at crime scene photos. So it's not something I wanted in my future. But I'm still interested in people like this because rational, I don't like to use the word, but sane people, because I'm not sure if I'd really qualify sane for one, but more rational people, let's put it that way, don't have these drives. We might have an impulse, like a moment, like someone cuts us off in traffic and it's like, oh, I'll kill him. That's a fleeting moment of anger. That is very different. This was very cold and calculated, and maybe it was the death of his grandfather. That is one of the things, because he had such a great relationship to him, and the fact that his mum said, oh, he's gone to a better place, maybe it gave him a weird skewed vision and impression of what death is. He saw it as a release, not as something to be feared, which in some ways is healthy, but how he did that is not. But when he was picked up, from that moment on, he was there just to say, look at me. The fact that the reason he was picked up was because a few complaints had come in about what looked like, as I believe the plumber said themselves, fried chicken stuck in a drain, and that was human remains. One of the people who called in the complaint about this was Dennis Nilsen himself. Why he chose to stop, I don't know. I haven't read anything that told me that. I don't think the series mentions it. But he decided at some point, right, I've got a number under my belt and I'm going to now get caught and I'm going to create this whole media thing. I am going to be known around the world. He wanted to be a known serial killer, clearly. Does this speak to a lack of, feeling like people care about him? Did he feel like he was invisible? And this is a way of going, I'm not invisible anymore. I don't know. We'll never know, because he's dead now. Again, it might be written somewhere, yes, but it's not something I really want to read too much into. But he made that decision. He messed the police around ridiculously, kind of, again saying, oh, it's 15, 16, and then going, well, give me this and I'll tell you this person, and give me this and I'll tell you that. His relationship with Brian Masters, who wrote the book that Des is based on, the series, He brought him in to be a biographer who he would tell what to write. But Masters did not want that. Masters was like, no, I'm writing the book that I'm going to write. It just happens to be about you. It's my book, not yours. There's a great moment in the series where that interplay happens. But still, he got what he wanted. I mean, he had the media circus, the whole idea that he was trying to get off for reasons of insanity. And it fooled no one, because it's like, look how cold and calculated this guy is. This is not someone who literally in the moment just went, I'll do that. He's not someone who is rational and sane, and that was kind of the way they were trying to look at it. It's like, this clearly is an irrational and sane person, therefore it must be insanity. But you can be irrational, you can be insane, but you can still be calculating, manipulative, malicious. I don't like to use the word evil. I don't think anyone truly is 100% evil, but Dennis Nilsen comes close. There's got to be, I mean, maybe these days we'd maybe give him, I don't know, narcissistic personality disorder or something of that ilk. I don't know. I'm not qualified to diagnose. But there is definitely something amiss, but that doesn't excuse what he did. I may have mentioned it in videos before, if not. It's something that I've talked about for years. Me and my partner have this thing with my conditions. There's certain things that I will be more likely to do. I'm quicker to anger. My stress responses are maladaptive. But that's not an excuse to act on them. Reasons are not excuses. There are plenty of people with narcissistic personality disorder who may realise and go, I want to change. It doesn't happen often, unfortunately, in that particular population. But there are people with various mental disorders and personality disorders and things like that who go, I want to not be like this, and will work to get over those issues they have. Nilsen was not that kind of person. Watching things like this, being aware of things like this, I don't like the true crime podcasts and things like that glorify, that almost make these people on a pedestal and things like that. But I think being aware of it is important, and that's where I say that torn thing earlier between criminological. I could have gone down that route because I can understand it and try and figure out, how do we deal with these people? How do we manage this kind of problem? But as I'm talking about the series, I think the thing I will end on is performances across the board were amazing. But the special standout performer in this, and it had to be really, given that he's the main character of sorts, was David Tennant. I know people who don't like him for some reason, but if this is the first thing anyone watched of him, I could understand that. It isn't in that case, but I praise Tennant for, I loved him as the Doctor, I've loved him in other stuff, but I was terrified of him. I mean, he's done a few good roles, like there's moments in Broadchurch where there's a darkness and ferocity, and some of that came out in the Doctor. There's other roles that he's been in where, he's had this edge to him. He's very good at playing that edge. I don't really count Barty Crouch because it was a bit sort of comic, it was a bit over the top. But he is, and I never got this term before, but he is electric in this. People talk about electric performances and I've never got it. Here he is electric. Whilst he's uncomfortable to watch, you still want to. It's that compulsion. You want to see you want to hear what he's going to say. You want to see what's going to happen. So yeah, if you're again able to deal with this heavy subject matter, I've glossed over a lot of it. If you can deal with something more intense and you haven't seen this series yet, I do recommend it if you're interested in this, to understand, or at least try and understand, a very unpleasant man, shall we say. But I'm not going to dwell on this too long. I think we all need to have a reprieve, so I'll finish it there. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching, and seriously, take care.